Why not start with the biggest on paper mismatch of the weekend? Rams and the Panthers in Charlotte. And the LA Rams are 10.5-point favorites. The total is 46 on BetMGM. But the last time these two played, just a month ago, Carolina walked out with a W, 31-28, thanks to 3 turnovers from Matthew Stafford, including a botched snap and a strip sack that Carolina recovered to essentially end the game after it looked like the Rams were going to build a nice big comeback attempt here. Panthers backed their way into the NFC South title in typical NFC South fashion. They lose to the Bucs last Saturday, then they get the help from the Falcons. They're 8-9. Rams looked like the best team in football for 80% of this season and then sputtered down the stretch. And so we've got a rematch here. We've got a big rematch, and I don't know how many people are giving the Carolina Panthers a chance to win this game, but I give them a pretty damn good chance to cover. Before we get to our picks here, if Carolina is going to do the unthinkable, if they're going to beat the Rams, Brad Evans, how the heck do you think that happens?
It begins on the ground with a 1-2 punch of Rico Arena Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard as well. I mean, Dowdle's a guy that can go out there and absolutely go ham. He's capable of getting maybe 15, 20 carries, 80-plus yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard started re-emerging here down the home stretch as well. Dowdle has been excellent yards after contact per attempt all season long with the shimmy, the shake, and the missed tackles forced. That shows is that they would have a supreme balance in this game. Bryce Young has played fairly well here down the stretch. You don't want to rely on him to go out there and throw for 300 yards. You want him to be in that 225 to about 250 range with a couple of airstrikes, maybe one to Tedero McMillan, maybe one to Xavier Legette. But you really got to lean on the ground tandem, as I mentioned, Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. That is a way you can beat this current iteration of the LA Rams that I've said before, that defensively they have shown cracks in the dam, and it's been more so not on the back end, but on the front end defensively. So win the battle in the trenches, Carolina, and you might have a chance to spring another colossal upset and break out the brooms to the season sweep.
Yeah, I think they kind of, in many ways, obviously they have to kind of repeat the formula that they did last time when they beat the Rams. But for me, most importantly than anything else, they've got to win the turnover battle, and they've got to force Matthew Stafford into multiple turnovers, right? It feels like it would be inexplicable that Matthew Stafford would have 2 picks, including a pick 6 to Mike Jackson, and 3 turnovers when they played. And then it felt even more inexplicable that he would do it again a couple of weeks later on Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons. But here we are. 2 out of the last 5 games of the season, Matt Stafford, 3+ turnovers. So would it really shock you if it found a way to happen again? That's what Carolina's got to do, though. That's the only time all season in that game where the Panthers beat the Rams, the only time all season they have posted such a significant turnover margin in a game. It feels like this team all year, Carolina, when they play up to the competition, they've got a chance to beat anybody, right? They beat the Rams. They beat the Packers. We also saw them lose both times to the Saints. They can play down to their competition. I think Carolina's going to rise to the competition here, and I think a lot of it is because, well, it's couple of fold here. One, I don't think the Rams defense is as good as they were earlier this season, right? I know that pass rush at times when it's firing on all cylinders under Chris Shula, who's one of the hot coaching commodities now in this open cycle here, they can get after anybody. They made Baker Mayfield look foolish when they played him. They very much so disrupted C.J. Stroud all the way back in week 1. And even as, even recently here, they did a really good job when they played the Arizona Cardinals. Now, that's not saying much. I go back to they lose to Seattle in overtime and melted down, blew that 16-point lead. That's kind of more so the Rams defense we've seen. The next week, they couldn't stop Bijan Robinson, couldn't stop the run, got gashed over and over and over again. And even that first, you get in that third quarter, that was a bit of a sweaty game versus the Cardinals. I know the total is 37-20. The Rams scored the final. Yeah, the Rams scored the final 21 points of that game. They were down 20-16 late third quarter against a Cardinals team that was dead man walking, had nothing to play for, and Sean McVay committed to playing his starters essentially that entire game. So not a whole lot of momentum going into the playoffs here. Now that hasn't hurt the Rams in the past, but I look at this defense as a defensive unit that is definitely capable of being had here. Kobe Turner is sensational. And I love every time the conductor, the musician that he literally and figuratively is. Jared Verse, not having as good of a year as last year, but still can be a game wrecker. For me, a big addition for the Rams is they get Quentin Late back, a slot corner who has missed several weeks. He was on IR. But I think that Carolina's receivers, especially Tedero McMillan, who I think you and I both think is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, or maybe you got Shuck winning it, but McMillan surely right there in the fold. And then the other weapons that Bryce Young's going to be throwing the football to, Jalen Coker coming on here over these last couple of weeks. I don't know. I don't trust Xavier Legette, a whole lot, but even the tight ends, Tommy Tremble and Mitchell Evans, I think Dave Canales is a guy that I see as a successful head coach, and I see him drawing up a game plan where you might see some guys that have 3-4 yards of space and they're open, and Carolina's maybe getting 7-8 yards on early plays in the passing downs, and that makes things a lot easier for them. I agree with you 100%. They've got to run the ball effectively more than anything. But it's not even like, oh, Bryce Young's got to play the game of his life. No, I think it's more so these Panthers receivers are going to do a good job of getting some separation for the Rams where there will be some windows to throw the football to. And then it just comes down to, can Bryce Young make those throws? But I mean, Brad, in a certain sense, it does come down to what version of Bryce Young do we see on Sunday? Because we have seen Jekyll and Hyde from him all season long.
Yeah, man, he's a roller coaster ride, and if you are in the front car there, he's got to make your stomach churn. I mean, that's the problem with him. He's just impossible to predict game in and game out. I think if you took it on an 8F scale, all you're looking for is a C+ level type of game for Bryce Young for Carolina to remain competitive and maybe ultimately score the cover with "Yar, shiver me timbers," Captain Hook being involved here with the 10.5. I think it's too many points. Against the pressure back situations, the NFL postseason, for the love of the gambling gods. I like Carolina as well, plus that 10.5. I think the Rams ultimately going to win this game. The other big issue for Carolina is, you want to talk about leaky and susceptible. Their defense has been largely awful for much of the season. You need the statistical evidence to back it up. Well, I will give it to you because I'm a numbers nerd. Since week 10, the Panthers are just number 24 in EPA per play defense. And they've been shoddy on the front end. They've been shoddy on the back end. I know Mike Jackson has been a pretty decent corner this season, only giving up 4 touchdowns, but 2 of those 4 touchdowns he allowed were to who? Davante Adams, who is going to be back and on the field coming off that hamstring strain. So I think the Rams will survive. They will advance. But are they going to come out and DDT and suplex Carolina? I don't think so. I think the Panthers, they are at home, will not spring the upset, but this will not be a snooze fest either. They should be somewhat within striking distance when the final horn sounds.
Yeah, so you mentioned it. That's my one play on this game. I want to keep it simple whenever I can. Panthers plus 10.5. And look, I mean, it's not great if you're envisioning how a game plays out and you're like, yeah, I might have to hope for a backdoor cover here, because then it's you might as well take the Rams at that point. But I don't see this being a blowout. I really do see this being close. Carolina has been, on paper, think about it. It's Panthers 8-9. They need what did we just watch? We watched them lose to the Buccaneers. Now, arguably, they got jobbed by the officials in that game last Saturday. That offensive pass interference called on Tedero and McMillan. I still can't get that call out of my head. The backwards pass that they initially roll an incomplete pass, and then they're like, no, ball went out of bounds, loss of 6 yards. What are you talking about? And so they still almost won that game against Tampa, and they were still able to cover. This is a different beast. As much as you and I have recognized here that the Rams have kind of sputtered, it's pretty easy to see a Sean McVay team now, like you said, getting Davante Adams back here. All of a sudden, they turn it on, and they don't even look back. But I could see it, right? I could see the Panthers being down 17 with 6 minutes to go, getting a meaningless touchdown, losing this game by 10. I can kind of also see it sticking around between 14 and 7 points for most of this game. It's going to come down to how the Panthers operate in the red zone against a Rams defense that over these last couple of weeks, their red zone efficiency has plummeted. You get inside the 20 against this Rams defense, and it's almost a guaranteed touchdown. So, that's where they're really going to have to ratchet up the pressure. Bryce Young against the blitz is going to be a key stat in this game. And then, do you get those kind of head-scratching turnovers from Matthew Stafford that you've seen these last couple of weeks, where we didn't see much of that at all in the first 12, 13 weeks of the season? So either way, I'm going to ultimate hold your nose spot. I'll go with the dog here to start the weekend. I know that, and 99% of people that are going to be, betting on this game, they'll have Rams money line, Rams alt spreads, and some tickets. I'm going to go the uncomfortable route. Just give me the Panthers plus 10.5. Brad, what do you like in terms of your best bets for this game?
Yeah, my two favorites. And folks, I'm going to have like a gazillion additional wagers. You can always check out my bets on my always free, transparent, and public spreadsheet at my free site, thegamingjuice.com, because you should never pay for picks in betting. I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford at the most pass yards of any quarterback in the wild card round. Yeah, you can bet on that right now in the futures market there at BetMGM at plus 400. Oh, let's roll the shoulders and get seduced by the juice on that one, Pat. I know Stafford only went for 243 the first game, but he is a guy that led all NFL quarterbacks the regular season in total air yards. Having Davante Adams back is a major shot in the arm. He got Puka Nacua, arguably one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league. In Carolina since week 10, a middling number 23 in dropback EPA defense, giving up 7.23 pass yards per attempt. So that's a bet I absolutely love against Stafford. Most pass yards in the wild card round of any quarterback at 4-1. And the other way I'm playing this is on a same game parlay. And again, I don't need 7, 8, 9, 10 legs to make me look oh so cool on social media. Look at me, bro. I'm such a smarty pants. Oh, I'm filthy stinking rich on my $5 wager that just cashed. No, I'm not taking those kind of victory laps. I just want a simple 2-legger. I'm trying to build bankroll. So on the same game parlay build at BetMGM, just give me the Rams on the money line, and I'm going to slap that together with that. Let's correlate, synergize, and bring it all together. If the Rams are going to win, somebody's going to score a touchdown. I think it's going to be Davante Adams yet again. Plus 105 on that simple 2-legger. Again, the shortcomings of that secondary Carolina. Mike Jacks, as I mentioned, damn good. Advanced data, only a 55.6% catch rate allowed, 77.9 pass rating, 4 touchdowns that he has given up, but 2 of those 4 were to Davante Adams in that Week 13 matchup. Adams led all NFL wideouts with 14 receiving touchdowns this season. He was also number 2 in total red zone targets. So when knocking at the door inside the 20, it's automatic that Matt Stafford looks to Adams for one of those fades in the corner of the end zone. I think they will connect on one of those. So love that same game parlay. Rams money line, Adams anytime touchdown at plus 105. Those are my top 2 bets. And again, I like the Panthers plus 10.5. Backdoor is always wide open when you have these big lines. And I kind of like the over 2 here, Pat. I'm going to give you my exact score in this game. Rams 30, Panthers 20. Ram it home.
Okay. I'll give you, I like that. I'll give you a final score prediction. I say the Panthers also through the back door very slightly here. I think they actually could put up some points. So I'll go 31-24 final score here. Panthers, maybe they're down by 14 and they get that touchdown, like I said, with about 4 minutes left to go to cut it to a 1-score game. And then the Rams get a couple of first downs and see this thing out. You know what's going to be a real problem, though, if you're like me and you like the Panthers here, is if the Rams come out of the gate and they are just running it for 5-6 yards a pop. But look, they kind of did that when they played, when this game played the last time. It was because of Stafford's turnovers that gave Carolina a chance. That and great special teams play. Corum and Kyron Williams combined 20 carries for 153 yards. That is over. That's almost 8 yards a carry, dude. They ran for nearly 8 yards a carry and still lost the game. So if they run the ball as effectively this time, and Stafford obviously avoids the turnovers, that's how this game gets ugly. This is going to, who's going to be the biggest player on this defense, in my opinion, is going to be the Panthers' big run stopper right in the middle of that front 3, and that is going to be Derek Brown, who also, kind of plays defensive end as well, but we see him most oftentimes lining up right in the middle. He has got to disrupt. He has got to grab Kyron Williams and grab Blake Corum and stranglehold them, smother them, and not let them get those extra yards. If you see those guys breaking into the second level and you see that Rams offensive line just pushing back, pushing the Panthers defensive line back, it's going to be a big time problem. It is going to be a massive, massive
definitely.
issue. Just the last thing here, and then we'll go to a break. In terms of the weather, I know you're the weather aficionado. I think we're going to get pretty decent weather here in Charlotte on tomorrow afternoon. Everything I've seen so far regarding the weather pattern is it's supposed to be in the upper 60s. There is a chance of rain, but nothing that's going to be too crazy. It looks like light rain and pretty decent winds. So kind of it's a like a hot. It's a very hot but dreary kind of Saturday afternoon in January for Charlotte. So in terms of throwing the football, the Rams should not have much of an issue.